This is a video about using a Thetford Cassette toilet exhaust system to exhaust the fumes out of your shower when you're taking a hot shower or when you're using a latrine, so the stink goes out through the black tank vent and not the conventional method of getting sucked out of here through the Fantastic fan. Because in a small camper such as this North Star Arrow U, there's not enough room to put a vent in the wet bath because it's very small. So the only ventilation you get is this one fan, or of course the kitchen vent, which I wouldn't recommend. So what I did is put a exhaust fan on the stink pipe side of the black tank. So when I turn this on, that little waterproof switch turns on a fan, which you may be able to hear in the background. That fan is outside, and we're now drawing air down into the black tank, through the fan, and out to the outside atmosphere. So if you're taking a shower, none of the stink and steam and everything is escaping into the camper. It's all getting sucked down into there, which is where it should go. Another thing you need to know is this is not a drastic fan. This is never going to pull as much air as, say, this Fantastic fan is going to do. This is just a gentle negative pressure, and I've used it with the top down when I'm taking a shower in here, just so that there's always a negative pressure going out of the stall to the outside atmosphere is all you need. Now, obviously, with this open, you're going to get a little bit more draw, but it's not necessary to keep this open all the time, at least not in my experiments with this exhaust fan. What we'll go look at now is where this is going and how it works. Here's the vent, and here's the fan. There's a speed control, so you can slow it down. This is a pulse width modulator, so it doesn't waste any electricity or generate any heat. It stays cool, and it's used for the fan speed control. And it goes from completely off to full speed, and we'll bring it up all the way. So as you can see, you could turn this thing up full power and get quite the suction in there. Here's a sales pitch. The next question is, exactly how does that vacuum, that negative pressure, get from here to outside the camper? We'll take a look at that right now. And what we're going to do is shut this down. It's an old camera. It takes a while to adjust the brightness. Here we go. The stink box. I'm going to let the camera adjust to the darkness in here, and this is where the magic happens. That hole you see with light up there is the actual top of the toilet, and that's where the tank connects. With that fan running, it's putting a negative pressure on this vent. There's another vent up here. That means when this box is closed, that entire cavity has a substantial negative pressure. And if you look here, since that cavity is connected to this hole, it pulls all the stink and steam from your shower or whatever down the hole, through that box, and out the vent you saw outside. So with the cassette removed, you could see where the vacuum is formed. You'll be able to see if we go right down into the toilet. You see those two vents, one to the left and one to the right? Those are the other side of that air blower that exhausts outside the camper. So, obviously, if they're drawing and the door is closed on the cassette hatch, it's going to pull right through. And we'll show you how that exhaust gets through the cassette. I have a spare clean one here. We can take it apart and I'll show you exactly how the cassette works and why that negative air pressure and that fan function. Now, since I have to hold the camera with one hand and do the demo with the other hand, this is going to be a little shaky, but we'll see what we can do. Here's a new clean cassette I took out of storage that we could use as an example, so I don't have to stick my hands in the in-service cassette. Let's take this apart, and we'll take a look at how the venting action works. This is a sealed box when it's in service and slid in. There's no way air could get in or out, except I took this cover off. This is a venting system that always allows this to be vented so that it's not fully sealed when the toilet is closed. Otherwise, the gases would build in the cassette tank, and when the user went to open it to defecate or urinate or whatever you're going to do, the gases, the hot, stinky gases would come up on you. So what Thetford did is say, we need to have this tank vented to the outside atmosphere at all times when it's in service. When it's out of service, when it's pulled out, that automatically seals. So it's a sealed unit and won't splash or spill. So this vent is normally closed when the cassette's out, so nothing splashes or spills when you're moving the cassette. What happens when you slide the cassette into its bucket, there's a mechanism here that gets pushed up. So that way the valve is closed, the tank is sealed, and you could move it with no splash or stink. When it's in service, that gets pushed up on a ramp, and now you have constant venting, whether you're using this or not, as long as it's in its bucket. So, and the way that happens is, I took this panel out earlier and showed it to you, and it has this notch in the center. When it's in service and you roll this back in up against the stop, that notch pushes up on this valve and opens it. So what that's doing is, anytime the cassette is slid in and in service, there's venting. So you don't build up methane gas or any pressure in there, open the hatch, and then get sprayed. That doesn't happen. So now you have a path for air to flow down through the toilet into this opening, when this is open, into the tank, through the vent mechanism, and down out into the box. Now we got the stink in the box, and it goes down through the vents, which the fan's on the other side, and on this side, well, I relocked the box, but remember we looked at the fan being in there, and it exhausts right here. So when the fan's on, we get negative pressure in the box, which puts negative pressure in the tank, which draws all the steam and funk out through there, and not out through the fantastic fan, which would stink up the whole trailer, or in this case, truck camper. Pretty simple.